The Manhattan skyline glowed in the fading light, a starfield of lights winking to life against the darkening indigo horizon. Melissa Jenkins stood in her high-rise office window, the 42nd floor view of her investment firm a familiar background to her unyielding ascent as an analyst. Tonight, however, the shining city seemed different, remote, nearly ominous, as if it were a place where secrets lay waiting she wasn't prepared to confront. Her phone jolted hard, shaking her out of her daydream. "Melissa Jenkins," she replied, crisp and professional. "Melissa, it's Mom." Her mother's voice, unusual and out of the blue, caught her off guard, stiffening her spine reflexively. Mother's calls were rarely personal, more often seasoned with business or coded disapprovals of her decisions. "Mom, what's up?" Her response was cautious, preparing herself for the usual bite. "We'd like to discuss, dear. Your dad, Vanessa, and I have organized a family cruise. We'd be delighted if you and Jacob could accompany us." Melissa went rigid, her breath halted. A family vacation? The offer came as a surprise, a fissure in the frozen barrier that had kept her at arm's length from her parents, Charles and Eleanor Warwick, oil moguls who regarded her Wall Street achievements as a hobby. Her younger sister, Vanessa, was their golden child, destined to take over the Warwick empire. While Melissa's accomplishments were ignored, her divorce a blot on the family reputation. 3 years before, her breakup with Brian, heir to another billionaire dynasty, had been savage, a public disintegration that had fueled tabloid speculation. Charles and Eleanor had faulted her, condemning her as selfish, even faulting her for gaining custody of their son, Jacob. "Why now?" Melissa's voice was guarded, her thoughts in high gear. "Your father's been mentioning you and Jacob to me," Eleanor spoke, her voice less icy than normal. "He wants to meet you both." Melissa's heart leapt. Charles, warm? The man who'd given her only cursory attention since the divorce? "When do we leave?" She tried to keep her voice even, hiding behind her wariness. "Next weekend, a 5-day Caribbean cruise aboard the Elegant Lady." The yacht, Charles's most recent display of opulence, was a 52-foot symbol of their affluence. Melissa breathed slowly. "Me at it." Hanging up, she gazed at the glow of the city, uneasiness twisting in her stomach. Was this a sincere olive branch, or a strategic gesture? Her parents' sudden affection was like a puzzle with pieces missing. In her Upper West Side apartment, the babysitter Maria lay on the rug, constructing a Lego castle with 5-year-old Jacob. His brown curls bounced as he laughed, his blue eyes, bright like his mother's, glinting with wonder. "Mommy!" He jumped up, throwing himself into her arms. Melissa held him close, kissing his forehead, tension of the day dissolving in his warmth. "Jacob, would you like to visit Grandma and Grandpa?" She cautiously dipped her toes into the water. Their infrequent visits had been cold, their love withheld for Vanessa's flawless life. "On a boat." Jacob's face lit up, unaware of the fractures in the family. "Grandpa's big boat." His enthusiasm pulled at her heart, assuaging her misgivings. Maybe this trip could mend old wounds, give Jacob the grandparents he deserved. But a nagging voice whispered, "What do they really want?" Friday evening, Melissa and Jacob stepped onto Miami's bustling port, the Elegant Lady gleaming under the sun, its sleek lines a testament to Warwick opulence. Charles and Eleanor waited on deck, their smiles unusually warm, almost rehearsed. "Melissa, darling." Eleanor opened her arms, a gesture so foreign it startled her. "Jacob, you're growing fast." Charles knelt, his grin disarming, though his eyes held a flicker of something unreadable. Vanessa lingered behind, her designer sundress impeccable, her expression cold. "Hey sis," she said, her voice sharp, lips barely curving. Melissa forced a smile, tension coiling in her chest. "Thanks for inviting us." The first 2 days unfolded like a dream, too perfect to trust. Charles, typically aloof, inquired about her most recent transactions, nodding to her stories of surviving volatile markets. Eleanor fawned over Jacob, instructing him on nautical knots and ship chronology, her laughter authentic as he copied her. Jacob absorbed it, his happiness contagious, while Melissa observed, cynical, looking for the angle. Vanessa remained detached, her smiles strained, her glances to their parents with a calculating tone. On the third evening, with stars twinkling above the Caribbean sky, Charles called Melissa to the mahogany-paneled study aboard the yacht. "Melissa, we need to speak," he told her, his voice low, serious. She sat, her heart racing as his face paled. My health is declining. The doctors tell me months, perhaps less. The words crash against her, shock intermingling with incredulity. Dad, what? He lifted a hand, his eyes entreating her to listen, to understand. I've been reconsidering my legacy. Vanessa's secure in the company, but you and Jacob, I want to leave the majority of my estate to you too. Melissa's breath caught, her mind racing. The estate, billion-dollar value, was a lifeline she'd never anticipated, yet it was like a trap. Why now, after all these years of contempt? Was this guilt, or something else? She escaped the study, her mind a tempest, and stepped out onto the deck. The Caribbean sunrise colored the sea gold, but warmth couldn't penetrate the cold in her bones. Drinking coffee, she replayed Charles's words, caught between hope and distrust. Good morning, sister. Vanessa's tone sliced in, her burst of brightness jarring, a harsh contrast to her previous frostiness. She sat next to Melissa, her sunglasses glinting, her smile too facile. Beautiful day, isn't it? What did Dad want last night? Melissa hesitated, her instincts shrieking warning. His health. He's concerned. Vanessa's eyes tightened, a momentary sharpness contradicting her relaxed tone. Just that. Jacob thundered onto the deck, Eleanor following with a warm smile. Jacob, want to bake cookies with Grandma today? Eleanor sounded soft, almost gentle. Jacob stamped his foot, excited. Cookies. Yes. Melissa was jolted, uneasy. Her mother's unexpected warmth seemed faked, linked to Charles's admission. Melissa, Vanessa said, her tone sugary. Let's sunbathe this afternoon, just as sisters. Catch up. The summons blindsided Melissa. Vanessa did not oft look for her. Sure, she answered, willing herself to be bright. Maybe it's time we talked. As the sun rose higher, they sat on the deck, the wind blowing a taste of salt. Vanessa, lying back in designer sunglasses, spoke first. We've always been set against one another, haven't we? For their approval. She kept her tone flippant, but her statement had bite. Melissa navigated with care. I never thought of it as a competition. I just wanted my own way. Vanessa's laugh was a knife, slicing. Oh, Melissa, you always received everything. Grades, scholarships, now your Wall Street fame. Her tone lowered, venom poisoning the words. You think you're better than the family, don't you? Melissa's heart pounded, the air heavy with unspoken menace. What did Vanessa know about their father's plans? And what would she do to defend her position in the empire? The Caribbean sun blazed hot, its warm rays covering the sting of betrayal on the elegant lady's deck. Melissa Jenkins came up, her heart racing as Vanessa's words slashed through the balmy breeze. This time, you won't have everything. Her sister's tone was glacial, devoid of its previous pretended warmth. What are you talking about? Melissa's heart galloped, eyes narrowing. You always have it all. Dad's affections, the company's limelight, and now the inheritance. Vanessa's face twisted, her sunglasses reflecting Melissa's stunned expression. You heard us last night? Melissa's voice trembled, realization dawning. Vanessa's silence was answer enough, her gaze fixed on the shimmering sea, anger flickering across her features. We've been planning this for years, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the waves. Planning? What plan? Melissa's stomach knotted, fear creeping up her spine. Vanessa leapt to her feet, her sundress flapping, and strode away without comment, leaving a path of hostility. Melissa's head reeled, her mind crying danger. Where was Jacob? She ran towards the yacht kitchen, her sandals slapping against the gleaming deck. Eleanor knelt in there beside Jacob, her grin too large as she proffered him a hot mug. Jacob, his curls moist with sweat, pushed it aside, his small face screwed up in disgust. Jacob! Melissa's tone was icily sharp as she hurried to him. What's happening? Eleanor spun around, surprised, her facade breaking for a moment. Oh, Melissa, we were baking cookies. I gave him special hot chocolate. Mommy, it's bitter, Jacob exclaimed, dashing to her, his blue eyes wide. Melissa's eyes narrowed on Eleanor, suspicion arcing. The drink, the cryptic words of Vanessa, Charles's surprise talk of inheritance, it all seemed a trap folding in. I'm taking Jacob to our room, she said resolutely, holding his hand. But the cookies aren't ready, Eleanor complained, her voice dripping sweetly, her eyes hard. "We're going." Melissa's voice brooked no denial. In their cabin, she locked the door. Her breathing was labored. "Jacob, are you all right?" "Sick." He shook his head, holding on to her. "I didn't drink it, Mommy." Relief washed over her, but the term plan resonated, linking her parents' kindness to Vanessa's poison. Something was very wrong. That night, Melissa didn't sleep much, her brain tracing an escape route. The next port was hours out. She'd get off with Jacob, away from whatever deception her family was concocting. She double-checked her smartphone, having saved the Coast Guard's number, having engaged the emergency location feature. Her old swim instructor training set in. Remain calm, be ready. She filled a little backpack. Passports, money, Jacob's beloved toy, and a water-resistant phone case. At 6 a.m., the cabin shone with the light of dawn, the ship closing in on port. Jacob slept peacefully, his small body tangled in her bed. Melissa crept quietly, zipping up the backpack, her heart full but firm. There was a knock at the door. "Melissa, wake up?" Charles's voice was warm, too warm, raising her hackles. Taking a steadying breath, she answered, "Yes, Dad." "What's up?" "Let's have one last family breakfast on deck. The view's spectacular." Her instincts screamed refusal, but declining might tip them off. "We'll be there soon," she called, buying time. She woke Jacob gently. "Morning, buddy. Today's special. Listen to Mommy, okay?" He nodded, rubbing sleepy eyes, as she dressed him in a waterproof jacket, tucking a small life preserver into the backpack. "Why the jacket?" "It's hot," he asked, inquisitive. "It's cold this early," she replied, brushing a kiss on his forehead, her fingers secretly triggering her phone's recorder. Evidence. She needed evidence of whatever was about to occur. On the deck, Charles, Eleanor, and Vanessa sat at a beautiful table, the morning sun gilding the white tablecloth. Fresh fruit, croissants, omelets, and juice glimmered in crystal dishes, a picture-perfect setting that seemed like a stage setting. "Good morning, Melissa, Jacob." Eleanor's smile was bright, but her eyes sparkled with something icy. Charles waved to chairs, his grin forced. The chef today really surpassed himself. Melissa sat down, Jacob beside her, her senses heightened. She handed him an orange. She peeled herself, being careful to stay away from the spread. "Not hungry?" Vanessa's tone oozed insincere interest, her eyes piercing. "Not yet," Melissa said firmly. The discussion tiptoed round safe subjects, Charles' business, Eleanor the next port, but with tension crackling, Vanessa's looks at Eleanor charged with meaning. Then, Charles suddenly nodded out across the deck. "Look, dolphins there." Jacob sat up, thrilled. "Where?" Eleanor and Vanessa stood up, pushing them to the rail. "Come and look, Jacob." Eleanor's tone was inviting, too energetic. Melissa's heart pounded, but she trailed after them, holding Jacob's hand, phone still filming. There was no sea activity. No dolphins, just waves on and on. A sudden force slammed into her back. Instinctively, she wrapped her arms around Jacob as they were shoved toward the edge. Turning, she saw Eleanor, hands outstretched, her face blank. "You'll be nothing," Eleanor whispered, chillingly calm. Vanessa stepped forward, a cruel smile curling her lips. "Goodbye, nuisances." Charles joined them, and together they pushed, a coordinated betrayal. Melissa and Jacob plummeted, the cold Caribbean water swallowing them. Panic surged, but her training kicked in. She held Jacob above the surface, her legs kicking fiercely. "Mommy, I'm scared," he cried, shivering. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's got you," she gasped, swallowing seawater. A life ring bobbed nearby. Accident or part of their plan? She grabbed it, securing Jacob atop it, her arms burning but unyielding. The yacht shrank into the distance, its deck empty, no crew in sight. Her phone, protected in its waterproof cover, continued to roll, the location app notifying the Coast Guard. "Jacob, you're so brave," she told him, locking eyes with his terrified ones. "We'll be rescued. I swear it." He nodded, his tiny body shaking but believing. The warm ocean was peaceful, a small blessing, but hours lay before them. Melissa steeled herself. She'd get through this, take down her family, and defend her son. Unbeknownst to her, the recording was uploading to her cloud, a digital lifeline. In the distance, a Coast Guard helicopter thundered. Pilot John Harris surveying the waves. Echo 3 to base. 2 castaways spotted. Southwest coordinates. A child and woman, adrift. It had been 2 hours since they fell, Melissa's arms throbbing. Jacob holding on to the ring. The hum of the chopper was salvation. A rescue basket came down, powerful hands grabbing them out. "Are you all right, ma'am?" a rescuer demanded, his voice filled with urgency. "Why were you in the sea?" "They forced us," Melissa said, her voice husky. "My family." She gripped her phone, the recording still there, holding Eleanor's freezing words and Vanessa's smirk. "This is proof," she declared to the rescuer, her eyes burning with determination. The world would learn soon of the Warwick's treachery, and Melissa promised justice would ensue. The sound of the Coast Guard helicopter receded as it flew Melissa Jenkins and her son Jacob into a Miami hospital, the Caribbean sun scorching above. They had only mild dehydration and fatigue, no critical injuries, a miracle considering their fall into the ocean. Melissa stood in a sterile hospital room, confronted by Officer Michael Driscoll, his weathered face creased in incredulity. "You're telling me your own family, your parents and sister, attempted to murder you and your son?" His tone was heavy, incredulous. "Yes," Melissa asserted, her eyes unblinking. "And I have evidence." She passed over her smartphone, the recording of Eleanor's ice-cold words, "You'll be nothing," and Vanessa's heartless jab. Driscoll's face clenched as he listened, shaking his head. "Unbelievable." Melissa didn't hesitate. Logging into the hospital Wi-Fi, she accessed her social media, her hands firm despite her pounding heart. Turning to the camera, she went live, her voice unvarnished but firm. "Hello, my name is Melissa Jenkins. My family attempted to kill me and my 5-year-old son, Jacob, by pushing us off a yacht. I survived, and I am telling the truth." She posted a clip of the recording, Eleanor's blank expression and Vanessa's sneer now out there. They're going home, believing they've gotten away with the perfect crime. The video went viral, watch counts from thousands to millions within hours, hashtags such as #JusticeForMelissa trending worldwide. Media outlets pounced on the story, the headlines blaring betrayal and attempted assassination. The police obtained arrest warrants for Charles, Eleanor, and Vanessa Warwick, the oil family's veneer dissolving under international scrutiny. The elegant lady made its way to a nearby dock, its gleaming exterior concealing the decay within. Charles, Eleanor, and Vanessa jetted off on their private aircraft to Atlanta, self-satisfied grins on their lips. "It was flawless," Charles said, reclining in a leather seat, a glass of scotch in hand. "No more inheritance worries." Eleanor nodded, her expression serene. "I thought she couldn't swim, but it doesn't matter. That sea was too deep for survivors." Vanessa smirked, swirling her wine. "Poor Melissa and Jacob, lost in a tragic accident. We'll play the grieving family, and it's all ours, her shares, her assets, everything." Their laughter resounded in the jet's cabin, blind to the storm raging. They walked into Atlanta, into their large mansion, its marble floors shining under chandeliers. "Turn on the lights," Charles snapped, heading for the living room. Eleanor flipped the switch, and the room ignited, disclosing a frightening scene. Melissa sat on the velvet sofa, Jacob next to her, his tiny hands holding a police badge, his eyes shining with wonder. A half-dozen officers flanked them, their faces stern. Melissa's gaze was steel, her voice calm but cutting. "Ghosts!" Eleanor shrieked, stumbling back. "You're supposed to be dead." Charles stammered, his face ashen. "The plan was perfect," Vanessa blurted, her voice trembling with shock. "Not quite," Melissa said, holding up her phone. "I'm a certified swimming instructor. Your push didn't kill us. The Coast Guard got my emergency signal, and this," she tapped her phone, recorded everything. "Millions have seen it." Officer Driscoll stepped forward, cuffs glinting. "Charles, Eleanor, Vanessa Warwick, you're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy." Eleanor lunged, her voice venomous. "You never deserved our name. Vanessa was the worthy one." Charles's face contorted with rage. "The empire was mine to give." Vanessa pulled away, spat. "You were always in my way." Melissa cradled Jacob close, dismissing their venom, her eyes on his warmth. As police led them out, the mansion was quiet, the burden of betrayal gone. "Mommy, are we safe now?" Jacob whispered, his blue eyes searching hers. Yes, baby, she replied, kissing his curls. We're making our own family now. Outside, the sunset-colored Atlanta gold, a new dawn unfolding. 4 years, Melissa had pursued her family's acceptance, but now freedom was sweeter. In a crowded courtroom, Judge Martha Coleman's gavel descended, her voice echoing. Charles, Eleanor and Vanessa Warwick, on charges of attempted murder and conspiracy, I sentence each of you to 25 years in prison. The gallery hummed, cameras flashing as Charles went white, Eleanor stilled, and Vanessa wept, her dignity broken. The trial revealed their deception. Charles's illness was a fabrication to entice Melissa onto the ship, his anxiety born of her silent buying of Warwick Industries stock. Her investing acumen had rendered her a threat, ready to take over. Ms. Jenkins, Judge Coleman remarked, her voice cordial, your bravery spared you and your son, as well as motivated countless others to stand up against family abuse. Melissa smiled, her mental health counselor and Jacob's champion beside her. Jacob, protected from the ordeal, was mending with therapy and her love. Outside, autumn light warmed her, reporters demanding sound bites. A woman came up to her, her eyes misty. Your story empowered me to leave my abusive family. Thank you. Melissa's heart overflowed. Her hurt was radiating outward, rescuing others. 6 months passed, and she and Jacob cozied into a Brooklyn brownstone, far from the Warwick mansion shadows. At her counselor's urging, Melissa established Family Reclaimed, an NPO that supports survivors of familial violence. Her live stream went viral and turned into a school curriculum, educating children to identify toxic relationships. A year later, a letter came from Charles, frail from suffering a heart attack in prison. I was blinded by greed, he wrote with trembling words. I don't hope for forgiveness, but I'm sorry for what I've done. She read it, caught between rage and relief, a burden lightening but no forgiveness given. In jail, Eleanor and Vanessa endured contempt, their offense against a child rendering them outcasts. They held on to their rationalizations, alone in their denial. One chilly afternoon, Melissa had sat with Jacob in a park, his laughter echoing as he played with other children. A boy gave him a model boat made of wood, a gift from his daddy. Look, Mommy. Jacob grinned, sprinting to her. She wrapped him in her arms, her heart brimming. It's lovely, honey. The Coast Guard rescuers, her NPO volunteers, and Jacob, those were her real family, united by love, not biology. Family is what we choose, she breathed, the motto of her NPO and the new reality of her life. The sky radiated, a lie testifying to their strength, as Melissa promised to safeguard this new life, whatever darkness clung to its edges. Family isn't defined by blood. Courage and love are, creating a bond that even betrayal can't break. Held captive by this tale of survival and justice? Hit that like button, share with your tribe, and subscribe to Revenza Tales for more heart-stopping tales. Would you be able to forgive a family that schemed to kill you, or would you cut them out of your life forever?